So thank you guys for sticking with us. It's been a marathon of panels today, but you guys have been great. I know some folks are out there doing their one-to-one meetings, and they'll be trickling back in as they get out. So I want to go ahead and get started with our Miami movie Mavericks. From film festival darlings and directors, local producing, groundbreaking content creators, forward-thinking entrepreneurs, as well as some of our local leaders, such as film festival directors and cultural affairs, are with us today, right here from our homegrown county of Miami-Dade. So I want to welcome all our distinguished panelists, starting with Monica Sorelle, who's the filmmaker behind the award-winning Mountains. Welcome, Monica. Also, we have Monica, it's the last panel of the day, guys, so my vision is just, I'm seeing triple. Mariana Serrano, who's a writer-director, made some great films. We also saw the teaser for her upcoming series, Living con los Cabos, which we're going to get a preview of today. So we want to welcome Mariana Serrano. And we have Mariana's partner, Mark Pulaski, who is a local producer on such films as HURACÁN and REEFA, which were both, I believe, seen on HBO. So welcome, Mark. And we do want to give a special welcome to a new MMFMer and new to our county, our brand new Miami Film Festival director, James Woolley. And last but not least, one of our great local minds from the film industry, who is now the Chief Administration for Miami-Dade County's Cultural Affairs, Graham Winick, is with us here today. An old friend, and glad you're with us on this panel. So let's kick it off with some fun clips. I want to show you guys. First, I want to show a clip from Monica's amazing award-winning movie, Mountains, and then we will show the trailer for Living con los Cabos. And then we'll have a nice little chat. So I'm just going to...
Niggas. Mm-hmm. Pendant que c'était après-midi, on bel petit cahier avant. Il t'a fait bien en pile.
Chérie, qui ça c'est quand nous gagne?
Ah, ça. Il y a trop de préparation là-dedans, chérie. Comment c'est bouquet? Comment c'est bouquet? Vous n'avez pas qu'à la trop ici. Vous avez besoin d'espace et d'espérance. L'origine là, t'es petit. Il y a un problème, mais quand on boit Jean, mon cher. Mais Jean, moi là, pourquoi je n'ai jamais quitté comme ça?
Oh, mais c'est wow.
Et mon petit m'a fait. Et puis t'aimes tout. Un nouveau petit cas là. Ou à prendre pièce pour faire couture. Nous avons la salle pour nous caresser les petits amis, nous leur venir. Nous avons la couche pour nous faire jardin.
Mais comment on a fait payer là?
Et tu comme nous sérieux. Et mes sols n'a privé l'autre semaine. Tout au vétail m'a fait et pour mes souvent c'est m'a fait. an fon ti rive ansam, chè.
All right. Welcome, Monica. So you're up first. Let's talk a little bit about you and about this incredible film, but let's talk with you first. Where are you from, and tell us a little bit about how you got into the industry.
I am from Miami, North Miami, to be specific. I got into the industry. When I was a child, I wanted to be an actress, I thought. And so I put a lot of my effort and resources and learning into that. But we couldn't afford lessons. So what I did was I just started reading screenplays at a pretty young age. And I think inadvertently I learned about just story structure and how to write a script from there. I think when I got to high school, I started sort of turning to filmmaking rather than acting. Went to film school at UCF, came back here in 2014, and just got involved in a lot of sets as a producer, production coordinator, PA. A few of the shorts that I produced or associate produced went on to great acclaim, and I thought that was sort of my lane, was just as a producer, until an opportunity arose through Woolley Arts, which was the cinematic arts residency, where they were giving opportunities to first or second time filmmakers to write and direct their first feature film. And the idea for this film sort of literally walked in front of me while I was in Wynwood, which, as a lot of you locals know, is, especially at the time, 2018 was full of demolition and redevelopment. And just my work in social justice spaces in Miami, specifically Little Haiti, led to the sort of conception of this film. I wrote it with my producer, Robert Colomb, who is a long-time shorts producer here, programmer, has worked at the Miami Film Festival, done a lot of work in the community. And we just wrote something from the heart about Miami, this very complicated space, and surprisingly it grew legs and was able to play in festivals around the country, and we're excited to bring it back home next month in theaters at Coral Gables Art Cinema.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that. So Coral Gables Art Cinema, you can go out and see Mountains locally. An exclusive here at MMFM, where you can see the film, a really phenomenal film, and which also made you, as far as the Independent Spirit Awards, one of their top filmmakers to watch, right? So congratulations on that amazing achievement, and we can't wait to hear and see what's next from you. So we're going to get more into the weeds on being a Miami filmmaker, but I want to keep going on down the line here. First, Mariana, I'm going to show the trailer that we also premiered at Miami Projections last night for your upcoming series, and you can talk a little bit about the genesis of that.
POWERBALL!
Yeah, why you gonna do that to my mommy, brother? You're gonna give her a heart attack. Clase de palo agua por tu madre. Dale, cuidado ahí.
Déjame guarachar.
Mami, I think I'm catching pneumonia. ¿Tú tienes vaporru?
Lo podríamos llamar Abuelos Place.
Pero no.
Junta la gasolina, mucho expensive.
Vamos, Verónica, corre, chica.
Cállate la boca. No me eches la culpa a mí. La culpa es tuya. ¿Oíste? ¡Ay!
¡Coño, me cago en 10!
¿Qué pasó?
El tipo está llamando a la policía, pero bueno.
¿Oyeron eso? ¿Qué hora es? ¡Debemos jugar!
No está loco para el carajo.
Lo que se le antojó.
Todo se ve perfecto, mi amor, todo está riquísimo,
¿Tiene pan?
Qué rico.
Pablito, oye, un toro, $2 pesos, con un poquito de moro ahí.
Pásame el pancito cuando tenga un chance, por favor.
Pancito, pásame lo maduro.
I don't want that hat in my house. Take off the hat.
Is that better?
No.
A ver, el pan,
No, it's not better.
Wraps it up for Carolina 10 tomorrow. Unless, of course, I win, then I won't be here, but you guys will be fine without me.
Have a great night, Miami.
All right, Mariana. That weather person sounded familiar.
Really?
Yes. So, tell us a little bit about the concept behind this, how you created it originally as almost like a pilot indie film, essentially, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were lucky enough to have a grant from Woolley Arts. It was the Family Commissions. It was all focused on family, and I had written the script prior, and I was just really excited to shoot it. And what we just saw is basically a mini trailer for the pilot episode, and that's all we've shot so far. But we are in development for the series, which is called Living con los Cabos. And it's all about this Cuban-American family, multi-generational, kind of living in one space. So there's a lot of like their crazy antics that kind of come about, but also kind of touching on what's going on in Miami and the landscape for the community, for families, just kind of what we're all dealing with here, and obviously set to a comedic tone and kind of like a jovial tone as well. Like definitely wanting to bring in Miami talent to kind of be a part of the comedy. So we had 2 comedians that are very prominent Miami folks, and it's Success Jr., which was one of the comedians, and Mr. Red. And we really wanted to involve them, and obviously all of our cast. We actually have a cast member here today, Natalie Cabo. So really just wanted to have a lot of like that familiar sense, not only just like the family unit, but definitely the Miami family, and hope that spirit is kind of infused throughout the series, hopefully.
Awesome. Yes. Miami families are very particular for those that are not from here, but you definitely picked up the flavor of that. So congrats. And then let's move on over to Mark Pulaski.
Yes.
We've had quite a number of conversations the past few months about this conference and just speaking about the Miami industry in general. So first, tell the folks here who don't know you a little bit about yourself and some of the work that you do locally as an independent producer in Miami.
So hi everybody, I'm Mark Pulaski. Primarily work as a producer. I've produced 5 features now, as well as a bunch of short films, and I work full-time in the film industry. I production manage commercials and stuff like that, so I'm full-time film, but trying to do more and more Miami, indie things.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. And obviously you work with Mariana as well very closely in terms of this last project as well that you guys are developing into a series.
Right, yeah, we're working on this, and we're developing a feature as well, and we've done 2 other shorts and a music video, and developing like 10 other things at the same time, and various applications and grants and whatever.
Awesome. Cool. So yeah, we're going to get more, like I said, more into the weeds on all that fun stuff about putting together indie packages here in Miami and developing material. But I definitely want to get to our last 2 panelists here. James Woolley, who is, again, I mentioned, our new Miami Film Festival director and just new to Miami in general. So first, welcome to Miami. Thanks for joining us. So for the folks out here in our audience, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Yeah, so I do this strange business of running film festivals and have for about 15 years. It's a very niche little industry that we have, but I enjoy it immensely. I started out at Sydney Film Festival in Australia, where I'm from. Did that for about 10 years while freelancing on the side for some other festivals. Ended up running Frameline in San Francisco, which is an LGBTQ plus film festival, but actually is also, by number of tickets issued, the largest film festival in California. And that was a great experience. The only downside was COVID, was the years that I had. And keeping something like this afloat in that era was pretty tough. It definitely was wonderful, burnt me out. I was looking for something more tropical, and Miami was calling my name. So this has been a wonderful experience. I've done 1 festival now. I hope for all of you that are local, you came by. And for me, it's just important that a city like this has a thriving and flourishing film festival, because I really think it's very important for getting everyone's work out there and coming together as a community.
Yeah. Oh, very well said. Thank you, James. And last but definitely not least, we have Mr. Graham Winick, who, as I mentioned, is the Chief Administration at Miami-Dade County's Cultural Affairs. Prior to that, you were the Film Commissioner of Miami Beach and a one-time President of Film Florida. So for some of our new folks out here, just tell folks a little bit about yourself and your current work with Miami-Dade County.
Sure. I have no idea what I'm doing with these fine folks, just so you know. But hopefully I can share some past wisdom. But so my name is Graham Winick. I grew up in Miami, and for the past 6 years, I've been working for the Miami-Dade County Department of Cultural Affairs, which helps to support our overall cultural landscape through grants, programs, cultural facilities, overall advocacy. And before that, for 15 years, I was the head of Miami Beach Film and Special Events, which was a special time when we were able, when I was president of Film Florida, bring in the largest film incentive that we had in the state of Florida. Unfortunately, those days have passed. We can always hope for better days ahead in film and the arts. But I'm more interested in learning about these folks.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So back to you, Monica. So you mentioned Woolley. What was that process like in terms of securing that funding and that grant, and just kind of getting into that process a little bit about how you were able to achieve that?
Well, I think the Cinematic Arts residency is maybe in its 5th year or so. I imagine hopefully applications will be opening up soon. We were in the first, it opened up like the year that we applied, essentially. So we're the first cohort with another film called Fairyland. Sunnyland, sorry. And it was a simple application. I think it's the same application where they ask what your artist statement is, what your background is, like a full treatment. They don't need a script or anything. I think it's generally for people, they've chosen a lot of people who have very little experience making films, so they're really taking a chance on a lot of aspiring filmmakers that are local and interested in creating like a new Miami features scene. That's not something that we've been afforded very often. I think we have a very rich, robust shorts scene, shorts that have played at Sundance and Berlin and TIFF, and I think we've made a name for ourselves there. But because the industry has been waning in the last 10 years or so, it's been difficult. So I'm really happy that this opportunity exists. The amount of money they give you is $50,000, which is sort of to be honest, like a source of contention, I think, right, because it's a very small amount and it's sort of limited in what you can do with that amount in terms of paying labor or locations and whatnot. So I think that's an ongoing conversation that we're having about what is micro-budget filmmaking, right, what can it look like? Is it so narrow as just this sort of 5-figure amount? Can it expand further? And are we able to go out and make ourselves known and seek funding elsewhere? Luckily and unluckily, we were accepted 2019, and we had planned to shoot 2020. Obviously could not. And so in that sort of break, we were able to sort of finagle like a sort of deal with Woolley that we want to raise a bit more, like we sort of just want to match what you've given us, but we'll do it ourselves. And we were able to go to the Gotham project market and meet a lot of partners that are still on the project to this day that were able to just give us a bit of that boost that we needed to make the film on the terms and with the ethics that we wanted to promote.
Oh, it's very interesting. And obviously, look, it makes sense because when you're an independent filmmaker, right, you're looking for funding sources from everywhere, right? Whether it's private equity, sponsorships, grants. Graham, I don't know if in cultural affairs, if there's a couple of programs that obviously apply specifically to screenwriters, to the visual arts. If you want to just talk a little bit about some of the programs specifically that independent filmmakers in Miami can access.
Sure. So, I mean, that's one of the dualities and the issues kind of facing overall filmmaking in general. The county has a Department of Cultural Affairs, which is really supporting the nonprofit cultural community, individual artists, and we do so to a great degree with the support of the mayor and the Board of County Commissioners. It's approximately $25 million annually in grant funding, which is quite a bit of money. It serves 21 different programs, so it obviously is spread out in lots of different ways. They also have separately a film office, and that's really geared more towards the commercial aspects of entertainment, right? So they developed a larger kind of higher impact film incentive to try to offset what the state unfortunately has let fall by the wayside. But unfortunately, filmmakers like Monica, you guys fall in the cracks, right? And that's where we certainly had the conversations in our department about how to support filmmakers like that. But every year it's a struggle for the budget just to maintain status quo. So we have to continue to work on those programs. There are some programs that have aspects. So for instance, we have our Miami Individual Artists Program that we reach out to every year. Filmmakers are welcome to apply. I have a film and visual media and digital media program. You can apply for up to $10,000. And it's not even project-based. It's just to support the artists and and what they do overall. We have the South Florida Cultural Consortium, which is a collective of Monroe and Martin and Palm Beach, Broward, Miami-Dade counties all come together and they pool a little bit of money and give about 20 different grants a year. And it's for visual and filmmakers as well. So that's an opportunity that we are going to be launching pretty soon in the next few months. And then separately, we have our projects-based grants. So, for instance, we have our community grants program and our TDC programs, and those support some film festivals, but also have supported some filmmakers and even this conference. So, this is one of the ways that we can try to support it. And naturally, we have escalations to our larger festivals, and how we support the great work that James does.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And thank you for that. That makes a lot of sense. So it's obviously, like you said, between the cracks, but figuring out sometimes their solutions outside the box. Like you said, an individual artist grant that a filmmaker could apply to, that's $10,000. That definitely helps in terms of continuing this momentum of building the independent film scene. And you mentioned, James, that, obviously that I know that traditionally the festival has had a very strong local film program in terms of showcasing and highlighting work. I believe that the Made in Me Award is still a part of the festival, if I'm not mistaken. So I want to talk a little bit more about the program specifically for our local filmmakers.
Yeah, look, I think it's important that the festival showcases as many Miami works as possible. And I think this year we really did a huge number. I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but we played so many local films. And we do have a Made in MIA competition. The amount that is awarded fluctuates year to year. It's been as high as around 45, 50,000, and recently I think it was around 25,000. It's a great way of adding some cash, basically, once your film is complete. And you are, competing against other great local films, but we're thrilled to be able to give that money back into the community. It's just so important. We also have cash prizes for shorts as well. We play a lot of local content. And I guess what I always like to ask of everybody when I have a crowd like this is that you all show up and support each other's films.
Yeah.
Because I think that is one of the things that makes sure we can continue to make content, is that we're there to see it. We need to make sure tickets are sold. So I expect to see you all at Coral Gables Arts Cinema next month for Mountains, because that's how we keep making films.
Yeah, no, you're right. Supporting each other as artists, that's a really good point. Really good point. Yes, and I know that the Miami and that tradition will continue with you, does show a lot of short and feature-length content from Miami filmmakers. As a producer, I've had 5 at your festival, so I'm very proud of that. So I can be a testament to the amount of local work that you guys showcase each and every year. But like you said, it's about supporting the ecosystem year-round, right? So if one of the filmmakers has a film in a local art house cinema, we have to go out and buy those tickets and see them. And really show that support. So now I want to speak to Mariana and Mark, because you guys did something a little bit different, obviously, and just kind of get into how the genesis of what was Arroz con Leche Powerball became Living con los Cow?
Well, yeah, I guess I'll start. So, when we shot this, so when Woolley first gave us the grant, it was for a short film. It was presented with, I think it was 8 other shorts, and while we were shooting in production, we like kind of both talked about it, like that this really should be a series because of the way the cast, which is a family, kind of evolves throughout just the film. We were like, everyone has so much to offer in terms of like a story arc, and really that's what you want from a series. You want everyone to have this individual arc that can take you to episodes, but at the same time, as a whole, as a family, they have, you know, a goal, right? And it's kind of, they battle through like their, you know, the issues that they have as a family, but always hoping or seeking that togetherness that they're looking for in this family, but also branching off in their own ways. And, you know, they're a Cuban American family, so there's a drama that's gonna keep us coming back episode after episode. And we just thought that there was a lot to offer from the amazing cast that we have and the amazing community that we have as like filmmakers here in Miami. We really want to showcase the power of Miami stories told through the eyes of Miami people, you know, because obviously a lot of people come here and we work on, I work on like larger series that come here and like studio led things, but we think that we should have it should be really through the POV of the people living here as well, you know? So we're excited to tell those stories, like with involving a lot of people that are prominent in the community. We have a lot of comedians that are like really going off on Instagram, and people they have built-in followings, and we hope to be able to bring that element to the series as well.
I mean, that's a great point. Mark, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say more from a base level, and that applies kind of to everyone too. I remember like our first conversation. So Mariana's previous short, Un Pequeño Corte, which is on HBO, like, you know, we made that, and everybody would always be like, oh, so like, can you turn it into a feature or whatever? So that was, I remember our first conversation was like, you know, now you either make a good short that it, you know, can either become adapted into a feature or a series in this case, or it just kind of like lives and dies as a short, and most things never get seen. We were lucky enough to be on HBO, but most shorts, you know, they go to film festival, people see them there, and then they kind of die, as we spoke about in some of the other panels. So I mean, just more of a base level. That's, I think, how the first part of the conversation started. Like, let's do something. Well, let's turn this into something that we can continue to create with.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Mark and I think everyone here is really excited about having Miami stories like kind of at the forefront. You know, Miami's getting a lot of traction in a lot of different ways. Like, there's a lot of people moving here, and a lot of people are interested, and they've always have been. I mean, Miami's obviously iconic for a reason, but I think that having the ability to kind of really, I guess, like seize the moment on the stories and the people who we have access to here, and why wouldn't we want to highlight that more? And obviously, you know, of course we want to have longer form content and kind of be able to tell more and more stories.
So when you were developing Arroz con Leche, did you always intend it to become a series, or was it, this is a really cool short that I just want to make?
So yeah, I had the script written as a short film, and then I actually was working on an episodic project for an Apple TV show, just working under the line producer. And so I started to become like more familiar with the episodic structure, because I was able to kind of hear different showrunners' conversations, and then that is great. You know, it's influential on your work. I think you should always be open to learning more and kind of trying new paths. And maybe because I just hadn't written something episodic, I hadn't considered it fully, but then seeing kind of how that world can revolve and really explore the nuances within the characters was like super appealing while we were shooting. Like, we kind of were almost done shooting, and I was like, Mark, this is what we need to do. And you know, when you have characters that can propel a season or multiple seasons, you should, I believe that you should definitely go for it. So that's kind of where it started.
Oh, that's very interesting, because again, it's creating that proof of concept is so important. As you know, you guys were discussing this morning, creating your package, right? And the sizzle reel, the proof of concept, something that you can showcase an executive or a producer or a financier to show that not only do you have a great idea, but you can execute on it, right? Because that's what a lot of the folks here are looking for, right? From the industry is, okay, this person's talented. Obviously, they wrote a great script or they have a great concept, but they took it a step further and they were actually able to create a piece of work that highlights what this thing is going to become. And I think that's huge. And then you mentioned also accessing local talent, which I think is important, especially how now, like you said, maybe in terms of traditional celebrities, we don't have all the actors that LA or New York has, right, with that profile. But there's this new generation of talent, like you said, online comedians that have millions of followers on social media that are able to attract eyeballs. And a lot of those, like you said, are living and working in our community, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's also an interesting way of looking at it. It's kind of an untapped resource, I think, kind of using, especially like these comedians and social media personalities that already have the built-in audience that we're talking about, but also are kind of like making things themselves in kind of a scrappy way, but kind of introducing them into what we've been doing for a while, just kind of more in like a filmmaking setting rather than just like on their phone, like doing it at home. Like, why don't you be a part of like a team or be a part of something together,
Yeah, because I think we've had that discussion a lot today about the spirit of collaboration, right? And this particular medium is built upon that genesis, right? Of one person came up with a great idea or a story or a script, but it really takes a team of people to put it all together. So what is your opinion of the local filmmaking community here? And I'll ask the question to the three of you in terms of not only creative talent, but production talent here as well, that helps bring your projects to life. Monica, you want to go first?
I mean, I think it's super untapped. I mean, I think like when I moved back to Miami, I had planned to only stay here for a year and like go somewhere else. And then I think in that year, I just realized that there was something really special here in terms of our collective experiences as creatives, as children of immigrants, as like just this culture is so unique. And I think I have always been really jealous of, a place like New York that has sort of this cinematic geography that, even if you've never been to New York, New York. And I've always wanted that for Miami. And I think there's a lot of filmmakers and other creatives here that made the opportunities for themselves and carved the path out for themselves to be able to tell stories that reflect their upbringing, their families, the city, the nuances, the issues that we have living here. Because, I mean, I think this is such a unique space that is undergoing massive change and has a beautiful history. And I've met so many amazing, talented filmmakers that are, they just sort of have to make a way for themselves, or they have to work on these big industry films that kind of come into town, use our talent, and then leave us. And I think something special is bubbling. I'm seeing more and more amazing work come out of this community as people have this like resolve to really like stay and dig their heels into the sand, so to speak. And I'm really excited for what that will turn into.
Well said. Mariana, how about you?
I mean, I agree with a lot of what Monica says. I mean, almost all of it. It's like just like there's so much richness in the culture here, and just like the melting pot of like the cultures and just everyone who's living here and moving here rapidly. Also the willingness and like the care that we have in the community, in the filmmaking community, like everyone gets really excited. I feel like at like a our local level, like you really see people get excited to see themselves reflected, their communities reflected, to be involved in something that feels special. We have like crew members here that were just invaluable to the production, and I think that what we need is the sustainability for that. Just to keep us going, because you want to always have that energy on set or during your production. You want to just maintain that, and it is difficult when the resources are slim. So that's just another thing to think about. But I think that there's so much willingness and so much talent here. So yeah.
Well, and I think there's different worlds with the crews and everything. Like, so specific stories. Like when I first started, like 10 years ago, there was a difference between like the narrative crew, the commercial crew, and then there's like the indie filmmakers. So like I started off on really big shows as well. You know, both me and Mariana and I have worked on, you know, really big things, Ride Along to Ballers, you know, bigger projects. And when I worked on stuff like that, I was doing casting, and I didn't see the same people in the crew that were on the commercials. Like, there was different worlds. There was commercial world, and there was like narrative world. Then the whole tax incentive thing happened. Everybody left, so then the crews became smaller. People started to mix. But then there's also just like the gritty indie, like, you know, people that don't work in the film industry, but like, you know, that'll just come together and like, hey, I'll be your DP one day and you do sound one day or whatever. But so what at least like I try to do, because I'm in both of the worlds, is kind of like marry the worlds. So like bringing, a lot of times when like the film festival comes around, a lot of the film community, the film crew, the people who work in the industry, like they have no idea that the film festival's here. Like it's more the indie filmmaker, you know, crowd that attends that. These other people, they go, they get their paychecks, they work in the industry, but they don't know about like the film world, you know, the indie film world. So I guess what I try to do is kind of like combine those worlds. You know, I know a lot of people from these bigger things. We bring them on, you know, to help make these smaller projects. And then, yeah, I also try to, I guess, pay back people that work on these little smaller things whenever I do have like a commercial job, and just kind of bring all the worlds together, and, you know.
Yeah, it's almost like we have a hidden barter system, right? It's like you help me out on mine, I'll help out on yours, and then if I get a commercial gig, I'll hire you for that. And obviously that was a lot more prevalent, and there was possibilities when we had the bigger incentives, right? Because you had a lot more crew here that was working, that was making money, that could then afford to maybe go off for a couple weeks and do an indie or a short, or, you know, they had we had them into camera rental houses that would say, all right, you're an indie guy, I'm going to give you a break on this equipment so you can go out and make your movie. A lot of that, unfortunately, has been drained over the last, what's it been now, 8 years since we lost the last incentive. So what are the challenges now of continuing to not only create your work as art, but as an industry, as a way of making a living?
Me to start on that one, I guess?
Sure.
So, yeah, I mean, it's difficult because, like I said, you know, we did lose a lot of our crew to Atlanta. I mean, the one thing that is still good about here, I think, in terms of like being able to stay afloat, is that we do have a big commercial music video, you know, like all that type of stuff still wants to shoot in Miami. So I do feel like, in terms of having all these like real resources, not just gritty, shoot it on a DSLR thing, like we do have a lot of real, you know, crew and gear and stuff here because of all those other productions.
Right.
I just think that, I know this is a difficult, you know, thing, but somehow, you know, with guys like you, and I don't know, somehow we gotta find ways to make it all happen. I know it's easy to just come here and say like, yeah, we need more tax breaks, or we need incentives, or we need whatever, but like I don't know anything about how to bring that.
It's a great question though. It's a bigger question, but it's like, because I'm thinking about you guys, right? Like 2 steps ahead, right? You want to make a series. Would a serious network like Netflix say, okay, I'm going to give you, I don't know, $2 million an episode to shoot your sitcom in Miami? Or are you going to have to move it to Toronto or LA? And would you be willing to do that given the chance? Or would you try to fight it out? Because then it becomes not only a creative decision, it becomes a financial decision as well.
Well, I think that also part of the reason why we really thought that this could work as a sitcom-y kind of thing is because it's not that expensive to do this the right way. I'm not saying it should be dirt cheap by any means at all. You know, obviously speaking to what you mentioned about ethics and the way you want to work with people, you don't want to always be begging people for favors, but I worked on 2 years ago on a series. The entire season was shot here, a very big budget series, because there was a lot of exteriors, a ton of super high profile actors, and it was completely doable here in Miami and in the Keys. And it, you know, it's there's something to be said to bring to the local community of what you're shooting, the realism of it. And it doesn't always have to be, you know, if it's something like a sitcom where a lot of things take place in, you know, interiors, sound stages, where we should be able to kind of have that, and have that infrastructure that sometimes when people come from out of town, they're a little like annoyed. It's like, you know, I mean, it's a reality. I've heard it from producers, and they're like a little frustrated. It's like, well, if there was more, we'd have it, we'd have it all really, because we have the people who are willing to do it and work on it, are excited to be a part of this industry. It's just difficult when you don't have a constant stream of these things coming in, but it happens. I'm on a show right now that's going to be coming back for the third time, and I think that if there's a will and if there's enough propelling whatever project, I think it's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and obviously, Graham, Mark, you asked the question, how can we help? And a lot of this is driven by our elected leaders and our politicians. So how can the filmmaking community really kind of dig their heels now and say, this is the support we need, and advocate for that resource?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting to hear that, the collapse of the systems has kind of led to the bleeding of the two sides together, which is great, honestly. I mean, it's the silver lining, if you will, of the horrible things that's come out of Tallahassee. But, we also have to remember that things are cyclical, things go in waves. It's a time now where, unfortunately, leadership just won't get it. Not just they can't get it, they just won't get it. And, Miami went through phases in the 80s, obviously, with Miami Vice, where we had one of the top television shows, and they were filming 22 episodes a year. And from the prior conversation here with Adrian Wooten, they talked about the investment of what that made and how much money that spent and how many people came and had rental equipment and gear equipment and rented studios and everything else that prospered as a result of that. We went 20 years without a major television series between them. We had feature films sporadically throughout, and then a Bird Notice comes in and, frankly, does just as well, if not better, globally to that show, along with CSI and things like that. So it certainly is possible, and it certainly can come back, and I think the dynamics of the market are certainly going to dictate some of it. But the real challenge are the costs and how we get it done. The great news is hearing that there is a burgeoning, filmmaking community, because I would watch it over the last 20 years, kind of ebb and flow, and as you were saying with the short market, the Borscht folks had shorts at every film festival for year after year after year, and we were promoting it and trying to get traction for them. And it's just unfortunate to see that it doesn't always connect into the next level. But the key to it is also what we saw is we were able to take advantage of it and utilize it at a time. And frankly, I have to make it very clear, it's not a partisan issue, right? It's not that film is exclusively on one side or the other. It's something that we communicated at every level, and we had leadership championing us at both levels. We got our biggest incentives with Republican governors and Republican leadership. So it's really not about that. It's just about, unfortunately, the kind of what's going on right now and what they're speaking to right now. And the other side of it too is, and I see I see Chad from Key West here, some other film commissioners here. Film Florida as an organization really tries to work to make it cohesive for the whole state. Because one of the challenges, certainly when we were leading the charge, was trying to convince legislators across the whole state that it benefits the whole state, that it's not just a Miami benefit. Certainly Orlando was certainly a bigger component of the game then. Tampa was doing really well, Jacksonville, and I'm sure that those all have to be lifted up. But it can't just be South Florida effectively leading the charge, because it's going to be very hard to convince legislators across the state that that's going to be possible. So, in the last few years, I've switched to the advocacy side on cultural arts, and we've been doing very well up until 4 weeks ago. For the very same reasons. And unfortunately, it's something that we have to work with as well. But why we did so well is because it did have cross-platform support across the entire state. It supported artists and nonprofits and cultural organizations. And frankly, what we were able to show through our data and our metrics is how vital it is to our state. We did a recently arts and economic prosperity study for Miami-Dade County, and we showed that Miami-Dade County, the arts impact, financial impact of the arts to Miami-Dade County is $2.1 billion annually, which is a huge number. And when we did a comparison county by county, Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York sat it out, we were the number one county. In fact, I have created these. Little fingers.
What?
Number
nice.
one. And so they resonated when we went to Tallahassee, and we got $32 million in funding this year, and unfortunately it just got stripped away by one person. Oh. So we have to work with what we got and outlive some people.
Yeah, no, you're right. Sometimes it's the long game, right? But and James, obviously you run one of the biggest cultural events in Miami-Dade County, and talk a little bit about the impact that the festival has in the community, and even like the ancillary effect of the heads and beds and all the filmmakers that come in, and the impact that has locally.
Yeah, I think it's actually quite big. The film festival is quite well attended, and I think in particular, it is so respected across Latin America that people's dreams in all these other countries is Miami Film Festival, even more than Sundance. You know, they want to show to people who get what they're saying. And it is such an important festival nationally. And I think it's a great moment as well to come together and see what everyone's doing and see the different ways that everyone is making films and the different things that people are saying. I also just think it's great that we connect the film lovers with the filmmakers, you know, and at the end of the day, that's what we all want, is you don't want to make a film and no one see it. You want people to see it. And I think we are very useful as a part of your publicity for your film, making sure the local audience is aware of it. You know, we have tens of thousands of people that go on our website. We print program guides. I brought those back. We put them in cinemas and bookshops around the city. We're just a way for people to know about your film before you then go and do a theatrical or VOD or streaming release. And I'm a big believer that people have to see your film more than once or twice before they actually buy something. So I think we're an important part of the awareness. But I don't know if I'm answering, I think I'm just talking nonsense now. But
No.
basically, I just think we're great, so come by, you know? We want to see you all there. And, you know, the way we're looking at the film festival going forward is to continue being a connector. Like, I view us as like an umbrella organization, and we want to bring all the other organizations in with us. So once a year, you have a big moment where I want everyone possible that works in film and has anything to do with film in the city to come by and see something and come by and see each other. So that's kind of how we view ourselves. So at least that's how I view ourselves going forward. So you'll continue to see us reaching out to a lot of industry events and doing a lot of things that we can to get money into the hands of filmmakers. I'm not meant to announce anything, so I'm not going to, but we will have a documentary fund that's going to come from September.
Wow.
So it's very similar to the Woolley thing, but for documentaries, and all the information will be available in September. So if you're a documentary filmmaker, make sure you're on our e-newsletter and keep an eye on our socials in September.
Absolutely. Wow. That's another exclusive here at the Miami Film Market. Documentary funding. And you guys, your social is at Miami Film Festival, right? All right.